You've mentioned a couple times about making business easier or making it easier to do business. What exactly are you thinking, or what ideas do you have there? What
Sure.
needs to be improved?
Sure. Well, rather than just giving you rhetoric, let me give you a very specific example. We had an empty First Source Bank building listed right across the street from Macy's on Coldwater Road. It's vacant for 3 years. Part of the reason it was vacant and it was tough to sell is because it's beside a gentleman's club. When you have something that's been vacant for that long, you're kind of bordering on it becoming blighted. Really, at the most traveled intersection in our county and in our city. We had a nail salon prospect come through. Owns a nail salon in Angola and wanted to buy the building, and he would stick a new nail salon and also a small restaurant in there. So nothing that would make the newspapers. It'd create about a dozen jobs or so. But those are things that those are jobs we need. And he's not looking for any tax abatements or any handouts to do it. The only thing that he needed to get that project done and to end that blight in a very prominent part of the city was just simply to get the setbacks clarified, not changed, just clarified for parking. There was a very large grass landscaping area, and he needed to expand into that with some parking. And when he went downtown to ask the question about whether he could do that, they never answered his question about what the setbacks were. They just kept telling him that he shouldn't buy the property because he was not able to make the landscaping requirements that would be added in the case of a change of use and a renovation and primary redevelopment application. And this gentleman, especially being not a real estate expert and English as a second language, was very confused, and he walked away from that meeting thinking that the city told him don't buy the property. So I fortunately went down with him, talked it out, and the city did not answer my question, even though I knew what I was asking for. They kept saying it's really not a feasible project because we're going to want landscaping requirements. Well, by the time we hired an architect, landscaping requirements were met. The parking was able to be expanded, and the project's not finished yet, so we're not totally out of the woods. But the bottom line is, do we want the jobs or do we want the landscaping requirements? And unfortunately, when somebody comes downtown and they sometimes don't get that assistance that they need, and I wish that was an exceptional story. But I think all of us in the development community can list multiple stories like that, which just kind of leave you scratching your head.
And this is kind of just recently as well, right?
Yeah, this was in December.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This was actually one of the stories that made me think, you know what, I'm going to step up and do something about this.
Economic development is one of those things that's kind of one of those terms that's thrown around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you specifically?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, that's such a wide open question. What does it mean to me specifically? I mean, economic development just means is a net increase of jobs and a net increase of whether you're talking about buildings that come along with it or new businesses that come along with it. But for me, economic development is just seeing people being put to work, not just being put to work, but being employed with careers, which I think is also something that we need to look at. What makes Fort Wayne so wonderful is that it is a place that you can raise a family. And if we don't have career-oriented jobs, that just becomes more and more difficult. So I also see economic development as being a function of how business friendly you are, whether or not you're looking to make the approval process is streamlined, whether or not you're a business friendly city, and that reputation does precede you, and it's something that we aren't going to change overnight, but I think that we can change.
Does it include things like streets, sidewalks, parks?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for
Sure.
bringing those up. No, so much of what I'm very passionate about is making sure that our infrastructure is up to par, and that you cannot emphasize enough how important the infrastructure is to economic development, to people wanting to open up businesses, creating jobs here. And as a conservative, I'm concerned that we are excited about doing all these projects that don't fit in our core city's functions, and things like water, sewer, roads are neglected. And those are the core services, along with safety services, that the city is responsible for. And I would love, before we do anything, to start taking care of those core services better, and then we can start looking at some of these other grand ideas. But we have lost track of those core functions and gone in several different directions.
Mm-hmm. And I know that aging infrastructure is particularly concerned in the second district.
Absolutely.
Lots of water main breaks and things out there.
Yep. Just last night, I was where I walked was on Ransom Drive in Pine Valley, and citizen after citizen said, "Hey, look at my street; it's crumbling." And there's definitely the attitude, especially in that area that's recently annexed, that the taxes went up. They're paying the taxes to the city, and the city's not maintaining their streets, and we're seeing roads crumble. We're seeing, like you said, throughout the winter we saw pipes burst, and that's just a lack of planning. It's a lack of leadership, and eventually what it's going to be is a very big bill to start bringing that up to where it should be, and I'd rather start sooner than later.